Okay, so I'm Richa Asarawala. I am a software engineer at Cisco Systems. And as Mani gave a good introduction about IoT Edge Analytics. So in yesterday's session, I just want to rephrase what we had. What is edge? Why do you need edge computing? Like there are two main things which, as an example, Henning said, security. That is one of the big concerns right now in the industry we have. Another reason which Chuck Bayer said yesterday is latency. Latency is one of the big issue when you want to send data to the cloud. And also, when you send the data to the cloud, your bandwidth matters. So you need to make sure you utilize the resources wisely and not send all the data on the cloud. So with that being said, now we know why do we need edge computing. So you know the part why we need. Now, this is a subset which I'm going to show today. How are we doing that? How are we implementing the edge analytics? So this is one of the projects which we have done already. So it's under implementation. Okay, let's see how customer is doing today, edge analytics. There are, yeah, right here. Okay, we have machines on the plant floor, and you can consider there are like thousands of machines. But let's say we have subset of machine which wants to send the data to an application which can understand what that data means. So, of course, machine speaks some language which only a particular protocol can understand. So, what you will require is you will require to host something in the middle which can be like a translator between your machine and your OEE as an application as an example. So to host that, right now, you can use a computer, like a Windows computer, Linux computer, or anything. You can do that. And to, of course, the computer has very less ports, so you require a switch which gives you a port density. Now, both of us doesn't have any kind of security. So, of course, you need a feature like a firewall which can enable those security features. So if you really see this whole area, if I have like thousands of machines, it's very difficult for me to implement this on a subset of machines. And it's not economical either. So a solution which Cisco has provided that on Cisco switch, you can host the same application which can pull the data from your machine and can go to an OEE application. What are the advantages? You can see you can replace the whole section in the red just by one switch. It gives you port density. It also gives you a good amount of security. And it also doesn't have an issue which you have with the computer, where you just have two NIC cards in the computer. And there are no good security with the computer either. So that is where we would like to move towards industry, and we can discuss the further advantages later. So I'm not sure if everybody knows what MTConnect does. So in the next slide, I just want to briefly show what exactly MTConnect does. So you can think MTConnect as a dictionary for machines, because as you see here, machine speaks a raw data, 010101, which only machine can understand. But you need to put something in the machine which can translate to somebody else, and that somebody else can talk to a user, as an example us, and gives you a good amount of information that what your machine is trying to say. So as an example, if it's a raw data, your MTConnect adapter is going to change that data into something meaningful. As an example, A is equal to 196, B is equal to 12. What A is equal to, your MTConnect agent will tell you A is equal to position, B is equal to load. And then you can see the same data. And it can pull that data into XML format using the REST API. And in OE, the same XML can be seen in a graphical view, the way you can configure. And it's this OE can also generate an alarms, which you can send it to your phone or your emails, and you can see immediately if something is going wrong with your machine. it's continuously being pulled, and you can take an action immediately. So this is just a one standard. MTConnect is an open standard, anybody can use it. Similar to MTConnect, there are many other standards. Just give it as an example, OPC. That is another one standard which industry is using, but 90% machine builder would like to use MTConnect because most of the machine by default inbuilt comes with MTConnect now, like this adapter. And the machines which are legacy machines, like 10 years, 15 years old machine which doesn't have that, you can put that MTConnect adapter in that and make this communication happen. So this is a very useful way to have a Cisco switch utilized in the edge compute environment. So just briefly to go over what are the advantages this mechanism can have is you can see your machine. You can see what your machine is doing exactly by OEE application. Sorry, I moved too forward. You can see what your OE application is saying to you, and based on that, you can reduce your downtime by taking an immediate actions on your machine. Your machine is not generating enough data, it needs to, a spindle motor is not working properly, the temperature is too high, it needs to cool down. So you can set those parameters, a threshold to those parameters, and it can give you information immediately. Converged platform. As we saw, the whole firewall, computer, unmanaged switch, everything can be converted into a one box. So it's a converged platform, way cheaper than what you can do with those three devices. Analytics. As I said, you can see the real-time anomalies detection on your machine, and you can take an immediate action. So you can also do predictive maintenance as an example. You can build a graph of past 6 months of your data and see what your machine is doing since last 6 months, and you can predict that in the future, this is what it's going to do, or this is how many devices it's going to generate, or so on. And secure access. So by default, Cisco switches has security enabled. You can configure, as an example, access list, port-based authentication, MAC address-based authentication. What does that mean is only a particular machine can connect to your switch and nobody else. If any other IP address is trying to connect, stop it. So you can also do NAT. NAT is called Net Address Translation. So by doing that, you're basically taking your machine into a subnet where your OE doesn't have visibility to it. And you can do it one-way NAT, two-way NAT, however the way you want. So it's a very good example of how you can secure your plant floor from the internet. So now you know how we can do. So this is a slide which will show you what capabilities a Cisco switch has by which you can enable all this awesome apps and everything. So as you see here, I'm just showing like a couple of here, but there are other switches as well and other routers which has this capability. So let's pick up one switch. What it does is, by default, switch has CPU and a memory. And if you just run Cisco iOS, it's not utilizing the whole memory and whole CPU. So why not use that whole memory and whole CPU into something else? So there are, as an example, in these two machines, we have 2 cores. So just have one core completely for iOS and have second core enabled to host apps which can do the analytics on your analytics on your machine. And when I say analytics, it can be, as I said, any protocol. It can be MTConnect, it can be OPC, it can be vendor-based. As an example, we also have done device-wise from Telit, that is also been hosted. So depending on which app you want to run, and when I say app, right, you can think of app as same as in your smart device. In your smartphones, you can put apps, you can configure them, whatever you want to do. So it has a very good graphical view which you can put, where your app can be put, and you can host the app, and you can manage the life cycle of your app. You can debug, you can troubleshoot. So there are multiple things you can do here. So this is what makes it unable to iOS and iOX. And this whole infrastructure is called iOX, basically. Any question here? Okay. So moving on. Now, I just showed you a subset where you can do from one machine to another. But if you really see a plant floor, so I know there are many details to see here, but the one which I want to concentrate on only a one particular cell zone. So if you go to industry, they have a particular cell zone for each activity. As an example, if your parts are getting assembled, there will be one cell zone. If your parts are getting painted, it's going to be, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to come in between. If your parts are getting assembled, it's one cell zone. If your parts are getting painted, it's another cell zone. So every cell zone has its own switches, its own machines. So let's say if I concentrate on one particular cell zone, and you see here, I have machine, and I have a switches which is iOX enabled. So one more thing here is you don't have to directly connect your machine to this switch. It can be connected to any switch, any regular switch, as long as it has connectivity to the switch which can run app, you're good to go. So that is not a requirement. So good part is if you have current infrastructure which is non-iOX based, you can still configure a standalone switch which can go to each and every machine of your device. And just to give you an idea, for MTConnect app, one single MTConnect app can host up till 10 machines. One single MTConnect app. And there are multiple apps you can put in one switch as well. One is doing analytics, one is doing just data pool as an example. So you can do that. And this is an IR800 router which can also be put along with the machine. And another thing is IR800 router also has Wi-Fi capability. So you can use that as well. And you can connect your machine if they have Wi-Fi adapter. You can connect those machines as well. So, and you can run your OE application either locally here on the cell zone, or you can put OE application in the area where you're doing your HMIs, or when you have your DNS and DHCP server, etc. So you can host on the in a VM, basically, in a computing platform. So, and if you see in the cell zone area, we also have a demilitarized zone where you have a very secure access before it reaches your traffic to your OE from your IT department. So this is just one use case, but similar use case can be applied to, as an example, oil and gas industry, or mining, or vehicles. It can be applied to anywhere. And we saw a full chart yesterday from Chuck Byers where he had the application applied to so many industries. So this is just to show you how your OE shows your data of your machine. So you see here the MTConnect app is basically pulling raw data into an XML. And this GUI is basically showing you the same XML into a graphical format. So when you are on the plant floor, you're not expected to know many technology, especially in terms of networking or anything like that. So if you have anything visual, I am a visual person. I mean, if I have something visual in front of me, I would know, okay, something is wrong. And so this OE has a capability to show you what is availability of your machine, what is the quality, what is the performance of your machine, and there is a combination of these three to calculate OEE, basically. So OEE stands for overall equipment efficiency. That shows you how efficient your machine is. And also this OEE has a capability to generate an alarm when any anomaly is getting detected. And when you have any anomaly detected, you can also send an email to your smartphone or to your computer. Okay, so any questions here? Okay, moving on next. So as I said, I just spoke about only one machine or maybe 10 machines. But what are the challenges when you have 1,000 machines on the plant floor? How would you manage 1,000 switches and with 2,000 apps individually? That's little challenging. And also problem is you're not expected to manage that all the time. So Cisco has come up with another solution which is called fog detector. What fog detector does is it actually has a visibility. So as the name suggests, fog, right? It's used for the edge analytics, and fog detector runs on the application layer. And as you see here, there are so fog nodes are the nodes which are your routers and switches where you can run your IOX and apps. So you see the fog detector has a visibility to all your fog nodes. What it can do is it can pull the data, which device you are running. It can pull that data, and there is also another Cisco app which is called Prime Infrastructure. What Prime Infrastructure can do is it can give you information about all the nodes. It gives you information about all the nodes, and you can, as a fog detector, you can talk to Prime Infrastructure, and it can give you information about the whole plant floor. So it doesn't have to talk to each and every node individually. It can directly talk to Prime, and Prime can give this information. So when you have fog detector, now as you see, fog detector has a visibility to fog nodes or a Prime Infrastructure, and also to all the apps which can be installed in the machines or in the IOX infrastructure. So, and there was one question came yesterday, what kind of apps you have? So apps can be an Alexi container, which is Linux based. Currently we use Yocto Linux as an app infrastructure. And another thing is VM based apps. And another which apps infrastructure we are coming with is Docker. So we are getting Docker support for app infrastructure. So that is upcoming. But as you can see, you can host many kind of application based on your environment. And Cisco is basically giving you an SDK, which is a software development kit. It is available for free online if you just go to devnet.cisco.com. It's available for free. You can just download the SDK into your environment and put the package of your app and build an app. So it's very easy to build an app as a third-party user, and as long as you have an capability to run a hosting platform, it can be a router or a switch, you can put that app on top of it. So, and this fog detector can be managed using a fog portal. A fog portal is another app managing, an app lifecycle managing, I would say, GUI. It's a very easy GUI. One click, you can install the app, you can select the devices where you want to install this app, and boom, it will do for you. You don't have to worry about it. And there is also, as I said, if you have just a small set of devices like a local shop where you don't want a fog detector enablement, then just to have a standalone MTConnect app or something like that, you have another GUI which is called Local Manager, which can also do app lifecycle management, and it can also do resource allocation. It can also do troubleshooting and debugging for you. So it's a very easy to use, and especially you are on the plant floor person, you are not expected to know much about this because you already have a lots of workload of machines. So this is very easy for you to start with. So, and as I said, this is just a one use case, but you can also have multiple people or multiple industry use the similar concept. Thank you, and there's my end. Any questions? Go ahead. I can give you.
Two questions, actually. One is, you could also potentially use VLAN segmentation to keep the devices off the rest of the corporate network, or have you support that in this architecture? Or?
Yes. So the question is whether it can support multiple VLAN or not, and you can segment your VLAN from plant floor to your corporate world, right? So as an example in this one, right, this whole cell zone is layer 2. Layer 2 means it's in a one VLAN as an example. And you see this, these are the distribution switch. So that is where you can see it is getting aggregated like cell 1, cell 2, cell 3. So all these cells are in their individual VLAN. It's like VLAN 1, VLAN 2, VLAN 3. And all these 3 VLANs are getting aggregated at distribution level. And that is when you can do a routing if you need to enable going forward wherever they are supposed to go.
Okay, yeah. I had heard level 3 when you were talking to this slide. I didn't hear about level 2. That's good.
Okay.
Also on the iOS slide, I think it's one back.
Sure.
Maybe.
This one?
There. Okay, so iOS is actually not running on Core 1. Is that what you're saying?
iOS is running on one core. There is one core where iOS runs, and on the second core, which if you run iOS, just standalone iOS, second core is just idle. It's not being used at all. So the main reason why you want to use these resources is now you have something on the plant floor already been there. Why not to use it, right? So you just enable the IOX, which is app hosting infrastructure, put an app, and you're good to go.
Okay, and the host OS would typically be Linux?
Host OS, Yocto Linux. That is what we are doing right now. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
This is not an unusual thing in switches. 10 years ago, I think Extreme used some similar architecture, and I'm presuming that almost all switch vendors are nowadays supporting this model.
Not all of them. They're coming up with the new models every now and then, but right now there are actually four types which supports that. One is Industrial Ethernet 4000 switch. This is a ruggedized switch, so it's immune to your environment on the factory floor. So if you have dust, temperature, and all that, it is still can be used there. And similar to that, there is a IR 829, 809 routers that can also be used. So as you said about this, 10 years back...
I'm referring to the IOX part.
That's what I'm saying. 10 years back or 15 years back, even if you see 5 years back, before IoT started, the Cisco switches were used for just routing and switching. It was not being used for anything else. But now you can use the Cisco switches same as your smartphones. You can put app exactly same as you would do on your smartphone. So because in smartphone, right, anybody can develop an app. And as long as it is compatible with your smartphone OS, it will work. Same concept applies here. Anybody can use an SDK given by Cisco, which is available on internet for free. And you can build an app, your own app, and you can put that on the infrastructure and it will work. So, sorry.
So this is primarily aimed at machinery and devices connected with Ethernet. How does this align with similar moves for devices connected via wireless networks, such as mobile edge computing? So it seems to be in the future we're going to have a whole set of sort of IoT products. Some of them are going to be connected with, fiber or Ethernet, some with Wi-Fi or local radio, some with cellular. Do you see the same sort of distributed edge computing in all of those scenarios?
Good question. So This one, right? I4K, this is only Ethernet based. But IR829, it has a Wi-Fi capability. And this, we are still doing tests, but the Wi-Fi is, so individual, if you see, it knows it can do Wi-Fi, it's supported, it can talk to your access point can talk to your WLC, and so on. So that is supported here, and you can host app here. So if you have anything which is only Wi-Fi based, as an example, and you don't want to use wires, you can definitely use this platform. So based on your requirement. And while you brought up this topic, I just wanted to make sure one more thing, that serial interface, there are few machines which only run serial. They don't have Ethernet capabilities. So even serial interfaces are supported with IR829 because that runs a different protocol which is called Modbus. I'm not sure if you're aware of it, but that's another protocol which can extract your data from the machine and gives you information about what your machine is doing. So that is also one thing it can run. But good question. Yeah.
I have a question related to that MTC 7878 port that you were referring to.
Yes, sure.
So is that a secure connection?
Yes, it's a good question. I forgot to mention that. It's a TCP connection.
Yes.
So TCP is a transport layer security, and you can
uses TLS.
I'm sorry?
Uses TLS, not just TCP alone. Right?
No. So TLS comes TLS comes when you have HTTP connectivity, because that's where your TLS connection happens. Okay. But at the transport layer, when you just need to collect your IP data, it doesn't even go to the application layer. When you just need to connect the data, so TCP is sync-ACK, and ACK kind of situation. So if I'm sending a data, a person will acknowledge that, okay, I have received the data. And if it doesn't see an acknowledgement, then it will resend the data. So your data transmission is guaranteed, and if some anomaly happens, then you will receive, it will be buffered, and you will see a data when your connectivity restores. So it's a TCP connection, and when SHDR is nothing but a raw data, sharded data. And on the other side, it's pulling the REST API from the XML so that you can see a graphical view of the same data. But yeah, it's a good question. And these ports are customized in your file. So based on what information you want to get, like it can be 787, it can be some other port as well. It doesn't have to be a standard one. You can, as long as it's available port, you can use any, because it's local to this communication anyways. And not to mention, right now MTConnect just do read-only data, like only one way. It doesn't have a capability to, if there is an anomaly generated, let me correct that. It won't do that, but it will at least send you an information so you can go and correct by yourself.
Any other questions for Richa?
Any
If not,
question?
thank you very much.
Sure. Thank you.